Here we are, again.
Oh boy.
With more Megamans.
God, I love that Capcom intro.
Too bad they don't use it anymore. Da -da 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 -da.
I hear Mega Man X4's intro theme in my head every time that plays, and then we get this instead.
I hear this in my head every time instead. Actually, I think Capcom, or no, sorry, Resident Evil 2 used it as well.
Yeah, one of them did.
I don't care what anybody says, I love this intro.
The intro is cool, I admit. Then I start hearing in my head, jump! Jump! Slide! Slide!
Things that didn't actually happen in previous Mega Man games. Like that sweet implied fight between Mega Man and Quick Man in midair.
Yeah, that was actually kind of cool.
And here's Proto Man out in his rock.
And now Proto Man is Space.
And then there's Bass.
Who is not a fish.
Forte. That's why we should just stick to calling him Forte. You can't confuse that with the fish.
You can't confuse Bass with a fish if you're not an idiot.
Well, you can because it's spelled the same. That was my first thought when I saw him when I played Mega Man 7 for the first time. I'm just like, well, he's got fins on his helmet.
この番組はご覧のスポンサーの提供ですお送りします
So we're doing that again, huh?
Anytime there's an animated intro, that's what we get.
How many takes did it take you to get the Japanese right?
I just used the same clip from Wild Arms. I made sure to save that.
Good work.
Meanwhile, in space...
Space robots! Space fighting in space.
A plot we'll never revisit.
Ever, ever, ever.
Why? I don't know. Like, there's a lot of pretty powerful implications with this whole existence of super space robots. And then in Mega Man, well, I guess Rockman and Forte are just like, yeah, whatever. And then Mega Man 9, they were really like, whatever. And subsequently with Mega Man 10, they were like, whatever. So all the fucking way by Saturn?
I would explore the implications of this in my comic, but I've done enough freaking aliens, I think.
My mind is still blown that apparently the evil energy is not responsible for the Maverick virus, because, like, what the fuck else could it be?
Dr. Wily writing a virus, maybe?
No, the virus came from space. That's what it says. I didn't write it. That's what the source books say. You can't see it, but I'm throwing my hands up in confusion and partially despair, but... Anyway. Fish. I think Bass's voice is okay.
Bass's voice is okay, but not good.
Well, I mean, like, acting aside, I think most of the voices in this game fit pretty well, except for, you know, Dr. Light.
Is that Zero's voice?
I don't think it's the same guy. I think it's actually the guy who voiced Reed Herschel in the original Tales of Eternia.
You could be right.
I can kind of see why they gave Dr. Light that accent, that kind of voice.
The voice doesn't bother me. It's the speaking like Elmer Fudd.
That's what I mean. I can kind of see why they chose that.
Okay.
He's an old guy. He's got a big bushy beard, and it's an animated segment. I'm sure at the time they're just like, primarily children will be playing this, so I guess.
Robot seagulls for no fucking reason.
Robot palm trees.
For no fucking reason.
Robot platforms. Robot everything.
Well, the real answer is because Dr. Wily, but of course...
That poor Met.
I never played much of Mega Man 8, and still not very great at the original Mega Man games.
It's me, a blue ball. Get blue spheres. It's a creepy eye. It's like, wow, thanks. It's a ball. What else are you gonna do with it? Rush waits for Mega Man to throw the ball. At some point I fixed the controls on this, because for whatever reason the special weapon button is set to circle? Rather than... Well, I think I changed it to triangle eventually.
Yeah, it's odd that they would make it circle, but whatever.
You remember all those games where Mega Man could swim? I sure don't.
Neither do I.
After this, they decided, no, he can't swim anymore.
So I was going to say something back there, and I have now completely forgotten what it was.
Skulls? Is it about skulls? Balls? Skull balls?
Oh, right, it was the sound effects. They reused those explosion sound effects in Mega Man Legends.
Makes sense. The series are connected, so it makes total sense. Get bolts!
In fact, I recognize a lot of the sound effects. Between, like, the X games on PlayStation and Legends, a great many of these sound effects sound familiar.
Back down that thing goes to the Technodrome.
Of course, after making the other side for 15 years, I see these sprites in my sleep.
I see them in my sleep because this is my preferred style of Mega Man game. It's a regular bird, also a hermit crab. I guess. Is that hermit crab supposed to be? Hermit crab?
I think.
Give him the clamps.
Give him the claw.
I sure hope nobody kicks the ball right at my underside of my weird hermit crab shell. Oh no! How could this have happened?
You notice Mega Man's blink pattern during the cutscene there? The one blink and then two blinks?
I always wondered about that.
They use it, like, for every Mega Man game that has portraits and a cutscene.
They do it for, well, I think, basically most Capcom games with portraits at the time.
Well, it's got a giant fucking skull on it. It wasn't really that much of a stretch, to tell you the truth, Albert.
Well, I mean, it's a natural formation, so... That's what I would assume. It's like, well, I know this has always been here, but this has got to be where Wily's base is. Also, the implications that Dr. Light can fix a space robot, also a little bit unaddressed.
I think it was more Duo's... what's left of Duo's body adapting to the shit that Dr. Light bolted onto it.
It does look almost completely different from when he was in space. I think there is some artwork of it.
Yeah, there is some artwork of Duo before he got blown to shit. And, yeah, it's obvious that Dr. Light had no idea what he looked like and just kind of bolted on random parts.
He looks like a robot now. I feel like they sped up the dialogue for these bits.
Possibly.
It kind of sounds like it. But yeah, I think the only thing that really kind of kept with Duo is his weird little wingling things, and
Jesus, what is with all the Mets?
I think his feet too, and that's about it.
Which is funny because he obviously had no legs in that cutscene. He was just a disembodied torso.
Well, the rest of it was buried. That's what I assumed.
It's like a Dockio.
And then Dr. Wily took the glowing purple evil skull ball. And for some reason didn't take the robot that came with it.
Obviously, he was just after the skull. Because Dr. Wily. It wasn't even that it was an evil source of energy, it was just skull-shaped, so he grabbed it.
Dr. Wily's like, I know what my aesthetic is. Who wants to do a Gradius segment for some reason?
We do! Right?
Yeah, I guess.
He should have been put, Vic, should have edited in Gradius music here, actually.
I was going to, but the segment is actually kind of long. Not as long as that mermaid sequence in Shantae, that's for fucking sure.
Yeah, no shit. Ah, Christ. Eventually you guys will see that.
Wait, wasn't that in Risky's Revenge?
Yeah, I'm getting my games mixed up. Yeah, that was Risky's Revenge. For some reason I was thinking it was Pirate's Curse. I don't know why.
Man, why did I pick Beat? Beat sucks.
I don't know. Why did you pick Beat?
He's only really good if you feel like charging your buster a lot, which, like, it's faster to just shoot.
Is it like this game's version of the Rocket Punch?
Kind
Just
of.
throw Beat at things?
Basically.
Clouds are bullshit.
They're not really that big of a deal at this point in the game. Meanwhile, when they pop up during the Wily Castle segment, when you're doing a jump, slide bit, a little bit more annoying.
I don't think I've ever actually gotten that far.
I know. I can't remember who it was. Somebody was mentioning that the Wily Castle snowboarding segment was a lot worse, but I didn't really have trouble with it. I like how they gave Otto like this deep, manly voice. And the only time he's ever done really contributed much of anything.
Yeah.
By launching gigantic fireworks at shit. Though I suppose it would still hurt. You're still being shot with a small-scale explosive.
I should dig up the backgrounds for this stage. They could be useful.
It couldn't have been fun to rip.
I imagine not.
How is that thing even still working?
Hell if I know.
Just keep shooting. I think it was the Saturn version that has like completely different music for this segment for some reason.
Because Saturn, I guess.
Well, I suppose I should probably say it's the PlayStation version that has different music because I think the Saturn version came first. Sort of like how I definitely almost 100% sure that the X4 came first on the Saturn. Oh, the Saturn, alas.
Oh yeah. There's a whole story about that. How any 2D game like this, the only way that people could get Sony to let them publish them on the PlayStation was to release them on the Saturn first and be like, oh hey, look at this game that you don't have, Sony.
Da 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 da. And then they were just like, we can't have that, fuck you.
Yeah, Sony was kind of weird back then about 3D games.
Thanks for that, Bernie Stolar. He then went on to Sega and did the exact opposite of that.
Of course, the Saturn was a fucking nightmare to program for, but that's another story entirely.
Well, because PlayStation was like, hey, we're doing 3D graphics. And Sega was like, oh shit. And so as a result, any 3D graphics you see in the Saturn are actually just a bunch of sprites.
Yeah, it couldn't actually render polygons.
Yay! I'm good at video games, I swear.
Yeah, the Saturn was,
I mean, granted, they did a pretty damn good job of making it look 3D.
yeah, it was a... In the words of Benjamin J. Heckendorn, it is a masterclass in how to not build a game console.
Note to self, don't jump in the tornado hole.
Yeah,
It will kill you. I get hit by that a lot. Or actually, most of my damage is from touching Tengu Man.
power shot!
Mostly because it took me a little bit to realize, oh, he always lands behind you.
I decided I'm going to have Megaman call out all of his attacks on the other side just because he's a dork.
Well, I mean, they do that in, what, X7 and beyond, too.
Yes, but...
Also in Marvel, X does it. And Project Crosswind, now that I think about it. So really, maybe it's just a family thing.
Could be. Like, I'm...
And then everybody gives zero shit for it. What? Nobody complains when X does it. Yeah, he does it in English, though.
I'm gonna have Deja do that just because she's a fucking weeaboo.
It's called a Dakimakura. I have no idea what these colors have to do with tornadoes or wind, but
Neither do
whatever. Anyway, next time on Radical Bromance, more Megamans.